In this video, we're going to go over the 5 most important charts that you can use to help you spot an altcoin season. And for those of you who don't know what an altcoin season is a time in the market cycle where altcoins outperform Bitcoin, and this is often where the biggest gains in the market happen. But the problem is, most people have no idea to know when an altcoin season is coming. So in this video, I'm going to show you these 5 charts to where you can use these charts to help you drastically have an edge at potentially finding the next alt season. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so the first chart that we are going to look at is the Bitcoin dominance chart. So all you have to do to find this chart is to go into TradingView. In the symbol search, type in BTC.D, and you'll see this market cap Bitcoin dominance percentage. So what is this chart? All this chart tells us is what percent of the total crypto market is comprised of Bitcoin. So right now you can see Bitcoin is 64% of the total crypto market. So it means that essentially 60% of the crypto market is Bitcoin, 40% of the crypto market is altcoins. And you can use this chart to simply show when the market is becoming either more Bitcoin or more altcoins. So this is a great and simple chart and very, very clear on when potentially altcoin seasons start. So let's go ahead and zoom out and get an idea of what this chart looks like. So very, very simply, if this chart is trending upwards, that is going to be your Bitcoin season. And we can go ahead and make that orange for Bitcoin. And when this chart starts to trend downwards, this is a big one here, I'm just highlighting a big one, that is going to be your altcoin season. Okay, do that in blue there. So really how you want to use this chart is to see whether the Bitcoin dominance chart is trending upwards. That will mean that's our Bitcoin season. That's typically not going to be where altcoins are very aggressive. And when this chart is trending downwards, that is typically where altcoins are going to become more aggressive. So what typically you want to see is when the uptrend starts to shift into that downtrend, that is where these altcoin seasons are critical to pay attention to. And even when you see these little tiny breaks to the downside in the Bitcoin dominance chart, even though they look small, these are also big moves in the altcoin realm. So let's go ahead and just take this one for example. Take a stake here. You can see here June 2022. All the way to, actually, let's take one more recently, just to get this point home here. Let's take this one right here, this little tiny move where Bitcoin dominance went down here. This is November 2024 to December 2024. And if we go ahead and look at the next chart, which is our other one that we're going to look at, which is called Total 3, this chart actually shows you the total crypto market, but it excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the way you find this chart is just simply typing in Total 3. You'll see total crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So here you're seeing the majority of the altcoin market. And if we look at that area, if you remember November 2024 to December 2024, you can see here that this whole zone was a large move in the altcoin space. It was a 88% gain in the altcoin space. And we could just see that in this Bitcoin dominance chart very clearly, to where even on a smaller time frame, you can see the market pushing up, and then we see, actually, let's get rid of this. You can see the market pushing up, then this drastic breakdown, and that's going to show when altcoins are pumping. So what a lot of traders, a lot of analysts are seeing right now is it's been a Bitcoin season predominantly for a while now. You see all the way back here since December 2022, we haven't had some radical alt season here like May 2021. And if this trend line, it almost broke, but if this trend actually starts to bend and reverse over to the downside, that could be monumental for the altcoin space. So a lot of analysts are looking at this major trend since 2023. Will that eventually break down and cause a massive altcoin season like it did back here? Over here in March, starting in March 2021, and we'll go ahead and check this out. Let's see, March 2021. To May 2021. So let's go ahead and go back to our total 3 chart and go to 2021. Okay, and look at this crazy, crazy stuff. We have, where is it? 2021, March, okay, and through May 2021. And let's see how big of a move that was. Let's see here. All the way to the highs, it was 113% move for the altcoin space. Okay, so that is what often traders and investors look for with the Bitcoin dominance chart. So that is our chart number 1. Our chart number 2 is this exact chart we are looking at. It is the total 3 chart. Actually, there's a few different permutations of this chart. There's the total crypto market cap. There's total 2 that excludes Bitcoin. There's total 3 that excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's others that excludes the top 10. If I'm looking for the altcoin space, I'm typically looking at total 3 or the others chart. And by simply using this chart, you can start to look what the trend is like for either a downtrend market for this, which is going to be your altcoins lowering on average in price, or you can start to see uptrends in this market where altcoins are increasing in prices. So if you see the market trending downwards on total 3, typically that's not going to be the best time to catch upward appreciation in the altcoin space. But if you see these uptrends, especially these sharp ones, these are going to be the most advantageous areas to be in altcoins. All right. So now let's go to another very interesting chart. This is going to be ETH versus Bitcoin, the ETH versus Bitcoin ratio. So all you have to do is type in ETH, ETH, BTC, and you're going to see the ETH versus Bitcoin chart. So ETH is the largest cryptocurrency in the altcoin space. And often if ETH is outperforming Bitcoin, that means that altcoins are typically outperforming Bitcoin as well. So you can see this chart. We can go out to a weekly chart. That this chart will sometimes have where ETH is outperforming Bitcoin, and then you can also see where Bitcoin is outperforming ETH. If it goes up, ETH is outperforming Bitcoin. If it goes down, Bitcoin is outperforming ETH. So you can see same thing on the Bitcoin dominance chart since about 2023. ETH has been not outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been outperforming ETH, but just recently, we are starting to see a potential shift in trend here. We can kind of see that. We can see that this downtrend is starting to get broken to the upside. Maybe ETH might be starting to get some ground on Bitcoin. And especially if we see this chart actually start to turn around to the upside, that is going to be a clear indication that ETH is outperforming Bitcoin. And typically when ETH outperforms Bitcoin, that is also coinciding with an altcoin season. All right, so let's go on to the next one. That is going to be the altcoin index. So this altcoin index is a very, very easy chart to look at. And to get to this chart, it's just at www.blockchaincenter.net/yen/altcoin season index. Okay, so this altcoin season index is an oscillator that'll actually show you when the market is primarily in a Bitcoin season, when it's below 25. As you can see, the market is right now in a Bitcoin season. And then once this goes all the way up towards 75, that is where the market is in an altcoin season. So this is kind of like an overbought, oversold indicator. So maybe Bitcoin is going to eventually start to come out of Bitcoin season. And when altcoins get up here into pure altcoin season, that could be eventually the top for that market. And the last charts that you can look at that can help you dramatically start spotting an altcoin season is looking at the on-chain data. So the metric we're going to talk about here is active addresses. So the addresses that are actually participating in buying and selling. So you can use a platform like Glassnode or your on-chain metric platform of choice, and you can find what cryptocurrency, whatever one you're looking at, and find if active addresses are increasing, which means people are using that blockchain, or decreasing for your major altcoins. So for example, if we click on Solana, you get down here for on-chain fundamental metrics, and you can see your addresses. And this gives us this chart called Sol, number of active addresses. So if we just kind of grab this chunk of data right here, you can see that as active addresses start to increase, also does the price of the protocol increase. And if you can look and see that many altcoins, for example, Solana or Ethereum, once this loads, if we start to see that these addresses are increasing across multiple altcoins, this is where it can be a potential indicator that altcoin season is upon us. Let's see if this loads for us. There we go. You can see ETH addresses as they increase, the price of ETH increases, and so on and so forth. But the major thing you're paying attention to is there greater activity in the altcoin market, or is activity decreasing in the altcoin market? So for example, right now, if we do look at Solana, we look at this purple line, we really don't even need to see the price here, but the active addresses in Solana have been decreasing and have flattened out. If we see those addresses starting to increase, and then we look at Ethereum, we start to see them increase, and we see Dogecoin starting to increase, that can also add up the picture that altcoin season may be upon us. So I hope that helps. The key thing here is simply to add up the pieces. You want to be presenting a case. So one metric is good, but the more metrics that you can use to potentially give you more evidence that altcoin season is here, is the better off you're going to be. It's like presenting a case in front of a court. The better case that you have, the likelihood you're going to have the outcome that you want. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you guys in the next video.